Echoes of Betrayal by Daniel Jappi, Mazwi.
Chapter 12. The White Man's Colonial Illusion of Africa. December 29th, 2008. When my visit ended, I was forced to make one of life's cruelest choices, between my mother and my husband, between Zim and England, the past and the uncertain promise of the future. I chose my marriage, my adopted country, and the flickering hope it offered. I left Zimbabwe with a heart heavy enough to anchor ships. My mother hadn't uttered a word or moved a single finger during the entire visit. I had to return to my new home in the United Kingdom and leave behind a homeland in decline and a mother already halfway to the other side. In my spirit, I knew I would never see her alive again. When I said goodbye, my eyes brimmed with unshed grief, but I told myself to stay strong. I had to move forward. Hope was waving from across the sea in Great Britain. Zim was unravelling at the seams. I boarded a kombi, one of those rusty minivans with tired shocks and noisy hearts, bound for South Africa via the Beitbridge border post. The Limpopo River, Zim's southern boundary, a ribbon of water-turned divide by colonial illusion. A border carved not by nature, nor by the people who lived upon its banks, but by men with maps in rooms far from here. The white man's hallucination of Africa had given birth to borders like this, sliced Africa like a pie, and gave each other pieces named after themselves. Cecil John Rhodes christened Zimbabwe and Zambia with his surname, splitting them into southern and northern Rhodesia. They believed Africans were too primitive to draw their own borders or name their own land. And because those lines were drawn without listening, we now speak the same languages on both sides of rivers and fight the wars across imaginary lines. The kombi left Bulawayo City Hall at around 2 p.m., sliding into traffic on Leopold Takawira Avenue, formerly Selborne Avenue, before bending toward Gwanda Road. 4 hours to Beitbridge, 4 hours to mourn silently, to press my thoughts against the memory of my mother. I left her care to her Creator. Where the Creator fails, no one can succeed, telling myself I will respect His will. I chose to clutch my future in both hands. We passed Ascot traffic lights, rolled past Kumalo suburb to our left. Kumalo was once off-limits to people like me, a white-only zone where black faces were allowed only behind wheelbarrows or kitchen sinks. Men and women, married with children, were frozen in time as garden boys and kitchen girls in the colonizers' eyes. They were denied dignity with each degrading title. As we crept past Kumalo, a black cat dashed across the road. It made it halfway, paused at the dividing line, then turned back just as the kombi surged forward. It didn't stand a chance. Through the rearview mirror, I saw the red smear on the tarmac. Life snuffed out in a blink. The driver grumbled. The passengers exhaled with relief. In Zimbabwe, a black cat crossing the road is an omen of misfortune, unless you kill it first. I thought to myself, what a needless death. Soon we drove past Chipangali Animal Orphanage, and I found myself wondering, who looks after abandoned animals when a nation can't feed its children? It was clear that living in England had changed and softened me toward things I once brushed aside. First the cat, now animal orphans. I shook the thought away. Come on, Dolly, what's wrong with you? Soon, the road began to twist and dip through an area aptly named Danger. My stomach tightened as we weaved through the slopes of dangerous curves where countless buses and cars had tumbled to their end. Death lived in the valleys, but so did awe. Africa, my motherland, breathtaking despite her brokenness. When God made the earth, His hand of creation lingered over Africa, sculpting her with devotion. Is it any wonder the world still fights over her riches, her curves, her warmth? But even the ripest fig may be rotten within. Zim was bleeding. Comrade Moment of Madness had hijacked the wheel and driven the nation into a ditch. We left danger behind, only to face a stone sentinel at the Gwanda/Philabusi Road junction. A massive butte, the Mbalabala boulder. It stood like a quiet ancestor, ancient and unbothered by time. It reminded me of a hill in Weymouth, England, where a white horse was carved into the hillside. Beautiful, yes, but altered. Touched by man, its wildness tamed.
But the Mbalabala butte was untouched, solemn and silent, save for one story. A drunk colonial settler once rode his horse to the summit and jumped. Miraculously, the horse landed on its feet. He was so pleased with himself, he invited friends and neighbors to witness the feat. But when he tried again before an audience, the horse landed on its back, crushing him beneath. They died together, a fool and a beast. They were buried at the foot of the stone. The colonists, too, suffered from their moments of madness. The kombi hurtled on. An old Toyota Hiace, likely born in Japan, orphaned in Britain and reborn as a sardine tin on Zim's roads. 18 of us were packed inside, not including the driver. These human coffins rolled past police roadblocks like targets in a shooting gallery. But the police weren't looking for lawbreakers. They were looking for bribes. They flagged us down with bored authority, and the driver paid up like it was a toll gate. At one of the roadblocks, one officer pulled a gun on a passenger who dared to relieve himself in the bush. The driver later explained. He wasn't aiming to protect public decency. The man had wandered too close to a sacred rock, one hiding the police officer's stash of bribe money.
Every betrayal leaves an echo. Chapter 13 is coming next. Get your copy of Echoes of Betrayal on Amazon and Gumroad. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next chapter.